Topographic map, a map that shows the shape of the ground as well as location and elevation of surface features using contour lines. Thematic map. Map scale compares a distance on a map with a distance in the real world. Time zone. 24 15-degree sections that each represent a different hour of the day. 1884 International Meridian Conference. When was the prime meridian officially adopted as 0 degrees longitude? Cartography. The art and science of making maps, including data compilation, layout, and design, also concern with the interpretation of mapped patterns. Steps in map making. Survey, collect data, print. Latitude. The numbering system used to indicate the location of parallels drawn on a globe and measuring distance north and south of the equator. Longitude. The numbering system used to indicate the location of meridians drawn on a globe and measuring distance east and west of the prime meridian. Map coordinates. Latitude, longitude. Absolute location, exact location of a place on the Earth described by global coordinates. Equator, an imaginary line drawn around the Earth equally distant from both poles, dividing the Earth into northern and southern hemispheres and constituting the parallel of latitude 0 degrees. Parallels, lines of latitude. Meridians, another name for lines of longitude. Northern hemisphere, north of the equator. Southern hemisphere, the hemisphere south of the equator. Western hemisphere, west of the prime meridian to international date line. Eastern hemisphere, east of the prime meridian to international date line. North Pole, 90 degrees north latitude. South Pole, 90 degrees south latitude. Tropic of Cancer, a line of latitude about 23 degrees north of the equator. Tropic of Capricorn, 23½ degrees south of the equator. Arctic Circle, 66.5 degrees north latitude. Antarctic Circle, 66.5 degrees south latitude. Features of geographic locations. Physical, cultural. Types of coral reefs. Fringing reef, barrier reef, atoll. Fringing reef, circle or fringe the coastline or islands. Barrier reefs. Parallel the coastline but are separated by deeper, wider lagoons. At their shallowest point they can reach the water surface, forming a barrier to navigation. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia is the largest and most famous barrier reef in the world. Atoll. An island consisting of a circular coral reef surrounding a lagoon. Orogeny. Continental plates collide. Great faults in the crust build up mountain chains. Appalachians, Alps, and Himalayas are an example of collision of continental plates. Subduction. The process by which oceanic crust sinks beneath the deep ocean trench and back into the mantle at a convergent plate boundary. The Andes Mountains are an example of subduction. Volcanic mountains are formed by oceanic plate driven under another oceanic plate. Environmental adaptation. Carrying capacity, the largest population that an environment can support at any given time. Natural hazard. A naturally occurring phenomenon or event that produces or releases energy in amounts that exceed human endurance, causing injury, disease, or death. Points of view to study history, space, environment, and chronology. Spatial organization. The location of places, people, and events, and the connections among places and landscapes. Themes of geography. Location, place, region, movement, human-environment interaction. Geographic location includes relative and absolute. Place, physical and human characteristics. Human-environmental interaction. Humans, their society, and the environment affect each other, a relationship between people and surroundings. Human modification. This is when humans begin tampering with the ecosystem and modifying it to our liking, whether it's a good or bad for the environment. Human dependence. Resources and climate needed to support humans for economic purposes. Movement. Interaction through trade, migration, political boundaries, etc. Regions. A geographic area that has similar physical or human characteristics. Geomorphology. Study of Earth's landforms and the processes that have formed them. Oceans. Cover 71% of the Earth's surface and they contain 97% of the Earth's water. Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and Southern. Seas. Smaller than oceans, somewhat surrounded by land. Major seas. Caribbean, Mediterranean, Black, South China, Baltic, Caspian, and Coral. Lake, a large body of water surrounded by land. Major lakes. Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, Superior, and Lake Victoria. Rivers are large natural streams of fresh water from snow or rain, usually from higher ground to lower, and run off into sea or ocean. Great rivers. Amazon, Nile, Rhine, Mississippi, Ganges, Mekong, and Yangtze. Canals. A human-made waterway. Panama and Suez are examples of canals. Mountains rise fairly steeply, summit at least 1,000–2,000 feet above sea level. Hills 500 to 2,000 above sea level, rounded top, usually no steep slopes. Foothills. Transition area between the plains and the mountain. Valleys, stretch of lowlands between mountains or hills. Plateaus. Flat, raised landform made up of nearly horizontal rocks that have been uplifted. Mesas, flat top hills or mountains, usually with steep sides. Plains. Large, flat landform that often has thick, fertile soil, usually found in the interior region of a continent. Lowlands. A lower portion of land when compared to the area around it, usually located near coast. Deserts. Must receive less than 10 inches of precipitation a year and little or no vegetation, while daily and seasonal temperature fluctuations cover 1/7 of the Earth's surface. Easily disturbed soil, plants exhibit water conservation, most animals are nocturnal and of thick skin. Delta. A fan-shaped deposit that forms when a river flows into a quiet or large body of water, such as a lake, ocean, or inland sea. Basin. A natural depression in the surface of the land, often with a lake at the bottom of it. Example of basin, Great Salt Lake. Example of delta, Nile, Ganges, Mississippi River. Marsh. Wet lowlands, no trees, always wet due to frequent floods and no drainage. Swamp. A wetland ecosystem in which shrubs and trees grow. Humid climate. 4 seasons, sufficient rainfall. Examples of humid climate: US, Russia, and Canada. Tundra, a biome at the northernmost limits of plant growth and at high altitudes, characterized by dwarf woody shrubs, grasses, mosses, and lichens. Taiga, a terrestrial habitat zone that is characterized by large tracts of coniferous forests, long and cold winters, and short summers, fur-bearing animals. Prairie, a treeless grassy plain. Subtropical climate, a climate with hot and humid summers and mild winters. Example of subtropical climate: Japan, China, Australia, Africa, South America, and US. Marine climate, the climate of some coastal regions with relatively warm winters and cool summers. Examples of marine climate: Western Europe, US, Canada, Chile, New Zealand, Australia. Physical geography, the study of physical features of the Earth's surface. Cultural geography, focuses on the relationships between people and their physical environments. Physical location, placement of hemispheres and the continents. Political location, political divisions, states, city, etc. country. Natural resources, materials or substances such as minerals, forests, water, and fertile land that occur in nature and can be used for economic gain. Renewable resources, a resource that can be renewed, solar, wind. Non-renewable resources, a resource that cannot be reused or replaced easily. Commodities, agricultural products or raw materials used to produce other goods. Types of map projections, conical, cylindrical, and azimuthal. Conical map projection, used for mapping large section of Earth's surface, cone-shaped. Cylindrical map projection, shows how the Earth would look if a piece of paper were wrapped to form a tube or cylinder around the globe. The distances are not true and the size of land masses near North and South Poles are exaggerated. Azimuthal map, stereographic projection onto a plane so centered at any given point that a straight line radiating from the center to any other point represents the shortest distance. Continents. The landmass of the Earth is divided into 7. They are Africa, Antarctica, Asia, Australia, Europe, North America and South America. Major oceans: Pacific, Atlantic, Arctic, Indian, Southern. Highest point in the world, Mount Everest. Lowest point in the world, Dead Sea. Largest sea, Coral. 10 largest seas: Philippine Sea, the Coral Sea, the Arabian Sea, the South China Sea, the Weddell Sea, the Caribbean Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, the Tasman Sea, the Bering Sea and the Bay of Bengal. They are ranked from largest to smallest. 1. Caspian Sea, Asia. 2. Lake Superior, North America. 3. Lake Victoria, Africa. 4. Lake Huron, North America. 5. Lake Michigan, North America. 6. Lake Tanganyika, Africa. 7. Great Bear Lake, North America. 8. Baikal, Asia. 9. Lake Malawi. 10. Great Slave Lake, North America. 10 largest lake in the world. Greenland, New Guinea, Borneo, Madagascar, Baffin, Sumatra, Honshu, Great Britain. 10 largest islands. World's longest river, the Nile. Major mountain ranges: Rockies, Andes, Himalayas, the Alps, Appalachians. Hottest place on Earth, Ethiopia. Coldest place on Earth, Antarctica. Wettest place on Earth, India. Driest place on Earth, Atacama Desert. Highest waterfall, Angel Falls. Largest desert, Sahara. Largest canyon, Grand Canyon. Longest reef, Great Barrier Reef.